Today I'm here to describe how to patch a hole in your boat hull. I unfortunately put a rather large hole in my hull. I was using an ice scraper on it to tear out some foam while tearing it down for a restore, and I put about a 4-inch gash in it. And we'll take a look at how to fix that. Underneath you'll see I've already patched it, but I'll go over how I did that. You'll notice that it is actually quite a smooth line for taking an ice scraper to it. That's because I actually took a grinder and ground around the edge to make it smooth. I also made an angle that goes towards the inside of the hull. That way the resin won't get caught up and create air pockets. And how I went about this, you'll see here. This is actually just normal wax paper that I stole from my wife's kitchen. I put that on the inside as a non-stick material for the poly to set against. A side benefit of it, if you have non-waxed poly that you're applying, the wax paper actually acts as the wax and allows it to cure nicely. On the other side is actually a flexible cutting board that you would find at, say, a Target or whatnot. Costs about $4. This one was actually a pretty well used one, so it was due to get replaced. So my wife won't be yelling at me anytime soon. What I did was I duct taped those two layers to the outside of the hull. Tried to make it as taut as possible, because the smoother it is against the hull, the better your job will come out and the less sanding you'll have to do. Move to the inside. What I actually did is I took a piece of fiberglass, just a strip of it, about 5 inches wide, and I did 3 layers on the inside. I simply gooped up a little poly against the wax paper that was on the outside, so it would seal up any seams, have less air bubbles on the edges. And I did 3 layers of 1.5 ounce mat, and I started off with a small piece and got progressively larger so that it had maximum grip on the hull and is thick enough so that it matches roughly the rest of the hull. It'll end up being about 1/8 of an inch thick, which is plenty thick enough to bounce the next rock off. The next day I came back in, I tore off the wax paper and the cutting board, and it's a little hard to tell, but actually is nice and smooth. Perfectly in line with the hull. It may be slightly indented, it may need a little bit of filler, but it's actually better to add filler than to have to sand it off, because fiberglass and poly sands very tough. I also had a few air bubbles. Apparently I didn't stuff the poly into the corners well enough. Luckily for me, I plan on flipping this hull, and I'll mix up some Cabasil and poly, make some filler, fill in the holes, let it dry, sand it smooth, and she'll be ready to paint.